The Tenno are all evil. The origin and creation of the Warframes has always been one of, if not the most intriguing question any new player has asked. And it makes sense, because what in the world are these ninja robot suits? It's been answered by DE and many different creators, but I am not only going to answer that question, but tell you what it means to use a Warframe. Refer to the timestamps below and skip around at your leisure. Enjoy! Before even knowing what the Warframes are, most of us had quite an inkling that they came from the Infested. They were the only thing the Warframes looked like. What helped this now proven theory was that the Infested were diverse and adapted to damn near any place you put them in. So to truly understand the Warframes, you need to understand the Infested. The Technocyte virus is a biomechanical virus capable of infecting and utilizing anything around it as nourishment. That is including, but not limited to, hulls of ships, people, armor, computers, animals, heck, even entire moons. It's a virus that truly knows no limits, hence why a race like the Orokin were ravaged by it. How the Infested were created is unknown. It is theorized to be an Orokin bioweapon gone wrong, but there's no clear proof as to whether or not the Orokin created it. For now, we are going to side with that theory that the Orokin created it and it was released accidentally. This had to be sometime before the Old War, as the Infested existed far before the Sentients. Although it was a super virus, the Orokin had it somewhat under control. Yes, it may have decimated their outer colonies, but it never came close to making the Orokin extinct. Over time, the infestation developed a hive mind. It was no longer just a virus, but a living, thinking, feeling thing. It could plot and scheme when and where to infect next. It could hide its presence until the right moment, ready to spring into action. It also evolved into different strains, creating entirely new organisms, as we can see on Deimos. Its diversity and ability to adapt was second to none. But wait, adaptability second to none? But what about the Sentients? The Sentients were highly advanced robots created by the Orokin to venture into the Tau system. The Orokin were overpopulating and needed to find a new space to colonize in order to grow their civilization. This, of course, backfired as well, since the Sentients were smart enough to realize that the Orokin would go to Tau and ruin it as well. Naturally enough, they went against the Orokin and were staggeringly effective. All their weapons and machinery meant nothing to adversaries that knew all of them. The Orokin immediately looked to the infestation to deter the Sentients, setting off biobombs all over the system. Bombs like the one that went off on Deimos. It worked temporarily. The Orokin needed a weapon strong enough to defeat their mistake. As dangerous as it is, the infestation has proven its usefulness against the Sentients. The Archimedeans were high-ranking officials, scholars, and scientists in Orokin society. They sought to take advantage of this. One in particular was fascinated by the possibilities. Ballas. He saw the ravaged outer colonies as gardens to cultivate a new strain that he would use to create super soldiers. Helminth.
Our hubris shone like a black star. For our technology, our war machines were your kin. How easily you turned them against us. We were forced to older means. Not circuits, nor light, but flesh and disease. Our horrors past, our ravaged outer colonies became gardens. We cultured the infestation, conceiving of a hybrid, transformed, but only just. The Helminth was created, born to yield these new warriors, worthy of battle against you, the great and terrible Hunhow. We took our greatest, volunteers or not, and polluted them with these cultured reagents. They transformed. They became infested. But only just. Their skin blossomed into sword steel. Their organs interlinked with untold resilience. Yet their minds were free of the infested madness. Or so we thought.
Being a biomechanical virus, it allowed these super soldiers to sprout supernatural abilities dependent upon their affliction. But there were a few problems with this, as the process was sadistic. Valis took the best warriors and infected them with this new strain, whether they wanted it or not, exposing them to specific conditions to manifest different abilities. They became somewhere in between infested, human, and monster. The important part to Valis was that they were powerful. Only they could not follow orders, so they were destroyed. Valis goes on to try everything. All forms of psychological and physical torture trying to subjugate these monsters to no avail. The Organ could not figure out how to make them work until the children of the Zarman returned from being stranded in the void. For an unknown period of time, the children were gifted with paracausal abilities, one of them being transference, or possession. The Organ immediately capitalized on this, killing the children's caretaker Archimedean Margulis because she would not consign the children to a life of war. The children, now dubbed Tenno, were kept in vessels to establish a somatic link to the Warframes. Now the formula to create the perfect warrior was made. Warframes were made and adorned with gold and all the best weapons to defeat the sentients, and they were effective, annihilating them. The Tenno and broken, tortured people were made into weapons. But why is this important now? In the last video, we touched on eternalism, which may be the vain faith Valis refers to in the Vitruvian. Regardless as to whether or not that's true, dualism is a belief that Origen held in the highest regards. It is the belief that all things are of two parts, mind and body, life and death, our dimension, and the void. Under the belief of dualism, the void has to exist because our dimension does exist. There are also plenty of indicators to prove that everything has that concept of duality in mind. For example, the technocyte virus combined biology and technology in a lethal manner. The corpus is a representation of man and technology, along with an obsession with profit. Grineer can be seen as a representation of man and time, constantly fighting against it with their withering bodies, along with their body-snatching queen. Every one of these dualistic concepts can lead us to the truth of the one being we are all curious about, the man in the wall, who I believe is more like us than we give him credit for. All of his feats during the Whisper in the Wall story, coupled with the fact our powers came from him, means that our powers have many similarities. The ability to transfer our consciousness into another body at will, becoming intangible, mind manipulation, etc. The point here is that whatever we can do, he can most certainly do better. These powers can mean so many different things though, so it's very hard to come to any one conclusion. But just like how the Tenno are the mind of the Warframes, the man in the wall may be the mind of the universe. His existence likely predates everyone and everything, speaking a primordial language. With this answer, 100 more questions may pop up. Why doesn't he just win? Then couldn't he control everything? What could he possibly want from us? Think about what we are to the Warframes, giving mind and motive to broken things. The Tenno and the Warframes are one of the strongest forces we know of. As the Indifference continues to leak in this world, his power grows exponentially, like a Tenno slowly gaining control of its Warframe. During the Whisper in the Walls quest, he changed the laboratory at will to whatever plane he wanted it to be, never struggling. It only seemed like something was hindering him, stopping him from doing what he wants to do. Which brings me to my final theory, which begins with a question. Why hasn't the Indifference ever physically stopped you? Because A, he doesn't want to harm you, B, he cannot harm you, or C, he's wanted to control you all along. Long ago, the Organ participated in continuity to prolong their lives, stealing the bodies of the young to live for hundreds, perhaps even thousands of years. These bodies were called Yuvan. You, the Tenno, are the Yuvan of the Indifference. The deal you made could be to allow him to have a physical presence outside of the void. Instead of playing mind tricks on everyone, he could actively do everything, everywhere, all at once, tearing apart this dimension, ruling over it with an iron fist. Regardless of whether or not this theory turns out to be true, the deal that you made with the Indifference is bad news. In a way, you could say that all the Warframes are in a deal with us, living in perpetual suffering due to their affliction, minds broken until we take away their pain. Still, the act of keeping a Warframe will always be wrong. They were all people once, recreated or not. They are alive, waiting for us to end this constant bloodshed so they can finally rest. Excalibur Umbra was the first to emote how the Warframes feel, and I know that he will not be the last. Thank you all for watching through to the end. I put out a poll for my next video and I saw that most of you guys picked the Zarman video, so look forward to that. I am also absolutely elated at how you guys reacted to my last video. Its link is in the description as well as on screen, but it means everything to me as I truly pour my heart into these videos. I've loved the story of video games since I was a kid, and my love for it only grew when I watched others retelling these stories and appreciating them. I wanted to do the same, so I thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to bring my love of storytelling to fruition. This is your lore channel as well as mine, so don't be afraid to suggest any other game because I will cover any story you guys want to hear. I read every single comment. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you all with another story. Peace.